What's up, everybody? Adam here, and I'm coming to you today with the person behind the games video. I'm actually going to make this a person behind the games and comics. Kind of fits my channel a little bit more. But I was actually challenged by my good friend Cappy over at Master Thief Games. I'll put a link either in the video or the description. But basically, it's just a 10 facts video telling you a little bit about myself. Although I'm a pretty candid person, I've been open pretty much about everything. I'll be a little more straightforward now and, let you into the ins of my life. So I guess fact number one, I'll give you a little bit of my back history. I was born in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, which is a little bit outside Pittsburgh. And when I was 5 years old, we moved to North Carolina. And then I lived in some places in North Carolina. And then we moved outside Philadelphia. And then we moved from Philadelphia back outside Pittsburgh. And then we moved from Pittsburgh to Northern Virginia. I believe by the time we reached Northern Virginia, I was 18 years old. At this point, I was starting to develop as my own person and a man. And a few years later, I met my beautiful wife. Well, she wasn't my wife yet, but you know what I mean. I met my beautiful wife through work, and we moved a few more times around in Northern Virginia, and then we had the opportunity to move for work to Maryland. So we moved to Maryland, and then some crap happened in the last year or so, if you've been following the channel at all, and now we live in North Carolina. So all in all, I think if I actually tabulate all of my moves, I have moved, I want to say this last move was number 17. I've moved 17 times in my 32 years of life. So that's a lot of moving. And on top of this part of like my back history, just give you an insight into my family. My family consists of me, yours truly, my beautiful wife Valerie, who's currently at work. Although in this video, you see this video, she may actually be home watching wrestling at that point. But as of this moment, she's at work, or I'd say, beautiful wife Valerie, but she's not here. And my two dogs, Ozzy and Kiba. So that's kind of the insight of my family and where I've lived and where I'm currently living. Living in beautiful Fayetteville, North Carolina. Second fact, I like video games. I mean, that kind of goes without saying since I'm doing a person behind the games video, but I like video games. I think I got my first system when I was 6 or 7 years old. I got the original Nintendo, came with the Duck Hunt Mario combo pack. So I got the gun and the controllers and the whole situation. And my dad and I used to play Duck Hunt frequently, and I got my grandmother to try to play Mario, and she could never beat the first level. And then I played tons of pinball and RBI baseball with my dad, whom I was never able to beat, ever, because he had been able to master the pitching, and you couldn't hit it when he pitched it, and all I pitched was home runs to him. But there was stuff like that. NES Golf we played all the time. The NES made up a huge chunk of my childhood. And then I got a Sega and a Super Nintendo, and I was more of a Sega person because when I got a Super Nintendo, we were kind of in a financial situation where I couldn't afford new games anymore. And I had a catalog of Sega games that I could play much more than Super Nintendo games. And then I finally got myself a PlayStation. And when I got a PlayStation, I went out and got a job at Walmart. And I was able to fund my own gaming habit at that point. I think the first game I bought with my own money was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, because there was a demo for it at Walmart, and I would just play that demo over and over and over. So when I finally got my first paycheck, went out and bought the game. I think my next system was a Sega Dreamcast, because I thought for sure this was Sega coming back. This was Sega saying, boom, I'm sticking it to you now. And they did stick it to me. I love my Dreamcast though. I still have it, actually. I don't use it very often. It's in box. It's actually right back on there in that bookshelf. It's on the bottom shelf with the games. So every once in a while I break it open and play some Power Stone. I also had a Game Boy that was given to me at a very young age. I forgot to mention that. At this point, because I was going in and out of jobs now, I was actually able to do a lot of my own funding for video games. So I was able to buy myself a DS, a Game Boy Advance, stuff like that, get my own games, especially off of eBay, buying cheap stuff there. And then my parents bought me a PS2, and that's kind of when I fell into the Sony camp, and I was like, this is gaming now. Since Sega's not a thing anymore, we have the PS2, and Grand Theft Auto, Final Fantasy X. Jeez Louise, there's games I love. The DDR series was all over it. Those were games I played religiously. And then I got an Xbox, even though my friends were like, why are you getting an Xbox? It's basically a terrible glorified computer. And it was a lot of fun. It had Knights of the Old Republic. I actually bought Knights of the Old Republic before I even owned an Xbox. So I picked it up for like 20 bucks, and I was like, I'm not going to pass up a deal where I can get a cheap game. Put a Xbox on layaway at Walmart, bought it, and played KOTOR till my eyes bled. I think after that, I picked up my 360. Around the same time, started picking up like the newer versions of the DS. Now I have a PS3. We have 2 Nintendo 3DSs in this house. A Wii, a Wii U. They're more modern, so I don't have as many memories attached to them. But yeah, I'm still not like the true hardcore gamer that snags every system and goes like, no, I am only at this or I am only at that. It's like I grab whatever I have to. Like I bought a PS3 so I could play with some of my friends that live far away. They don't have like Xbox Live like I do. I keep looking at my Xbox because it's right there. It's right there. The Xbox is right there. But yeah, I bought it so I could play stuff with them online because it's free to play online there. But yeah, I mean, video games are so important. They've shaped me into who I am, I guess you could say, which is also kind of sad sounding. Fact number 3. I like food and beer. I'm just going to kind of put them into the same thing because it's just easier that way. I'm not going to make one fact, I like food. The next fact, I like beer. But it goes beyond just like liking food. Before I started working where I currently work, I worked as a cook in a central kitchen. And before I worked in that position, I had pretty much never cooked in my life. I think the most extravagant thing I'd cooked before that point was ramen noodles. So when my job gave me the opportunity to learn how to cook, I was like, okay, why not? Why not learn how to do something more than make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? So I started slow, as I think you would in anything. Didn't know how to use a knife, didn't really know how to prepare food, didn't really understand what different cuts were. But after working with the food and learning how to cook over a period of, I want to say close to 7 years, I reached the point where, I started actually experimenting with foods and taking an interest in cooking at home. And that's kind of where the beer part comes in. I remember when I was younger and I turned 21 and I was like, oh yeah, now I'm going to go drink, and I got beer and it tasted awful. So then I was like, my other 21-year-old friends, hey, what's good beer? Whoa, go get some Natty Ice, go get some Ice House. And all of them tasted terrible. All of them. But it wasn't until I really started cooking and I started seeing in our store's magazine, like, try this beer if you're having chicken parmesan, or try this beer if you're having, a prime rib, and it's like, I don't know about that. So I did. I started trying these beers and pairing them with food, and I was like, wait, beer's delicious when it's correct. So now, like, I cook food with beer in it, like marinated chicken with like Blue Moon beer, which is just absolutely delicious if you make it right, of course. But stuff like that, and that's when I started getting an interest into beer. So I've gone on brewery tours, and my wife and I actually won a trip to Colorado to go to the Great American Beer Fest, which is held once a year, and the tickets usually sell out for it in the first 10 minutes they go on sale. It's essentially PAX or RTX for beer lovers. Like 1,500 breweries or something like that show up, and you get to go around and drink beer all night and try all the different beers and all the beers that kind of experimental or coming out or stuff like that. So it was a really really cool experience, and we actually got, because it was through the Blue Moon Brewing Company, we actually got to go on a brewery tour of their Sandlot, which is connected to Coors Field, and we got to talk with the head brewmaster and a lot of the other main brewers who had a lot of information to give us. Some of the people there were like, they want a trip, so they were like, oh hey, a trip. But when we were there, we were actually like, well, what's the science behind this? How do you make this? What does this do this? So they were really interested in us because we were really interested in them. So they told us about these like Cicerone courses and beer server courses. So if we ever wanted to expand our own knowledge, we could do that. So it's cool that we've had these opportunities to learn these things, because now I've been able to take that knowledge and apply it in my own life. And whenever somebody goes, oh, I hate beer, I can't drink beer, it tastes disgusting, and I'll go, well, what have you drank? And that's usually when you hear the Budweisers and the Miller Lights, and it's like, don't drink those. Don't drink those. Try this beer, or eat this and try this beer. It's like, there are so many good beers out there that trying a bad beer shouldn't scare you. So having the opportunity, like I said, to cook has given me the knowledge of all these like food pairings and cheese and beer pairings and just food and beer. It's good. Fact number 4. I like comic books. I think that's probably apparent because the content that's popping up on my channel, but I like comic books. I actually attribute comic books to my passion for reading, which I'm slowly starting to find again, because for a while I kind of slacked. Behind me you see the bookshelf there. Most of those books are my wife's, because she buys significantly more books than I do, but I like to read. The one shelf directly behind my head here has like my collection of books I have, and then I have some other books around the house, like the Redwall series and the Maximum Ride series. But a majority of comic books is what led me to actually liking to read, and that's why I'm glad I'm able now to bring my love of comic books to the rest of the world now through YouTube. Even if it's just sharing, what comic books I picked up at the store this week, or sharing the stories that I really love, which is something I'm going to hopefully be doing very soon here in the future. But that's something, that I was trying to do with the First Issue Fridays, being like, this is a comic book I read. This is what I thought about it. You should read it too. I really like it. Or I didn't like this book, so I don't really recommend it, but, whatever. Do what you want to do. So, but comic books I love them. I mean, if you watch one of my previous videos, you've seen that around my room, I'm looking around my room, there's so much comic book stuff. There's all my action figures back there. I have my miniature HeroClix collection over here. The only thing I can think of downside from all my comic book love is I've reached a point with movies where unless it's a comic book movie, I don't really care about seeing it anymore. Kind of the same thing with TV shows. It's like, hey, I love Daredevil and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Arrow, but the rest of TV kind of sucks. Not really interested. And I think maybe that's why I like wrestling so much, because it's kind of like as close to real superheroes and supervillains as we're ever going to get, because, they're fake, unfortunately. Except for one small area in Seattle, I think it's somewhere in Washington State, that there's an actual group of superheroes that go around doing citizen arrests and following laws and stuff like it. It's a very strange thing. If I can find the video, I'll link it in the description. But yeah, there's actual group of guys that dress up like superheroes. So yeah, it's a little weird. Fact number 5. I'm an introvert with pretty low self-esteem. So this list is actually very difficult for me to make. I don't mean to make the middle of this kind of like a downer, but actually sitting here and trying to think of 10 interesting facts about myself is very difficult for me, because the way I view myself is very uninteresting and very unwarranted of attention. And, like I said, this is kind of a little bit of the downer part, but, I just want to share that. So for anybody out there who might be watching this and going, I don't feel like I like myself either, or I don't think I'm interesting. You're not alone. It's difficult. When I'm at work, I'm kind of a more outgoing, do what I need to do kind of person. But I feel like once you take me out of a situation where I'm kind of forced to be outgoing, I'm more reclusive and kind of to myself. And that's not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, but I'm very much a person. I don't have a lot to say. I don't necessarily think a lot of things I say are super important. Um, so, like I'm kind of shutting down right now, and I'm trying not to. I'm trying to just keep talking and get it out there. But, everybody kind of views introvert a little bit different. For myself, it's like, yeah, if I'm amongst a group of friends that I'm super comfortable with, I'll probably be the most outgoing, boisterous, loud person there, center of attention. But if I'm in a situation where a friend is introducing me to a new friend, or I'm at a friend's house that I don't know, I'm usually more reserved, more quiet. That's why I don't like going to parties. I don't like going to bars. I don't like going out to clubs or loud places where I can't focus on anything anyways, because I also don't hear well. So I end up usually being like a downer. I usually kind of sulk away, and it's because I don't handle those types of situations very well, unless it's a very close-knit group of friends. If it's just like fringe friends or people or friends of friends, I'm usually see that's what it's. See, I wasn't me stopping the video. That was just me being. That's what I feel like when I'm out. So it's hard, but doing something like this on YouTube has kind of helped me open up a little bit. It's helped me, realize that I do have talent. I do have worth. I've met friends. I have people that watch the videos and comment and interact. So, I'm not saying everybody go out and make a YouTube channel, because to some people that could be even more disheartening. You may never even get a subscriber. I feel blessed because I'm currently at 66. And when I started this, I thought maybe I was going to have 12, which was like kind of like my core group of friends. So it's pretty awesome that I've been able to try and get past that image of myself and how I view myself, and get out there on the internet and, make new friends and speak with new people. So, it's hard, but if you try and you believe in yourself, you know what? Don't believe in yourself. Believe in the me that believes in you. Anime reference in the video for you. Speaking of anime, fact number 6. I like anime and manga. If you've seen one of my previous apartment tour videos, you've seen all the random wall scrolls and stuff like that I have around the house, and art that we've bought that's anime inspired. My second shelf on my bookshelf over there actually is Love Hina figures and Neon Genesis, one of the giant mechs from it, and Ein is on the shelf behind my head there from Cowboy Bebop, and Spike is on the shelf there on the back, and then Ed and Ein. I got stuff around the house. I remember watching anime when I was little, and when anime started getting more popular, people used to be like, well, you only like anime because you've seen Dragon Ball Z. Or you've seen Sailor Moon. And it's like, no, my first animes were Kashan Robot Hunter, 8-Man After, Vampire Hunter D, Robot Carnival, Tank Police, like all the stuff that was on Sci-Fi Channel's Saturday anime stuff. Like those were all of my first animes. It wasn't until later that I saw Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z and Naruto and all these other shows. So, I mean, if we want to get real specific, probably my first anime is really Speed Racer. or Voltron, like those ones, you know, from when I was way little. Those would probably be my very first ones. But no, the ones that really got me interested were like Vampire Hunter D and Record of Lodoss War. Just really cool. So anytime I could go to the video store and pick up, you know, a new anime film I had never seen, Ayani's High Kick, you know, that's an instant classic everybody can think of. You know, they had the Slayer movies, but none of the Slayer series, so I never really understood what was going on. But hey, it was anime, so I didn't care. So, I love anime. My wife and I, when we had every opportunity, would go to Otakon, the big convention held in Baltimore, which is going to be held in DC, I believe, in a couple of years. And, you know, that's where we go to the panels and learning about all the upcoming anime information and see all the cool new stuff and all the action figures and all the toys and all the art and the messenger bags and just everything anime related for 3 days. Just euphoric and heavenly to see all of this stuff and meet the voice actors and see the directors. Like, I got to see and meet the director / creator of Cowboy Bebop a couple of years ago, which is one of my favorite series. So I was, you know, over the moon that day. That was also the same time they announced that Cowboy Bebop was coming out on Blu-ray, which is probably my favorite anime. I love it. It's been a series I saw on Cartoon Network, and then I just fell in love with it from that point. Like, I bought I think it was a $250 box set. Came with the complete series, I believe it's only 6 DVDs, and then the soundtrack. And then I went out and purchased the rest of the soundtracks. Probably that's one of the saddest things that ever happened to me, is that Otakon a couple of years ago, Yoko Kanno was there, and I couldn't get into the concert because the line started earlier than what they said the line was starting, so I couldn't get in to see the concert. So I was really sad that I didn't get to see that performance. But no, I love anime. It's another thing that's shaped my cultural views about the world and my interest in other nations like Japan and Asia and things like that. So it's cool to have an interest in something that's outside of your country that makes you look and interested in other things. Fact number 7. I have a YouTube channel. I think that's kind of a dead giveaway, but it's still an interesting fact about me. And a lot of people, when I do tell them that I have a YouTube channel or I make YouTube content, they're like, oh, what do you make? Crazy cat videos? And it's like, no, I don't make crazy cat videos. I make stuff. But no, it's been quite the experience, honestly. I really didn't have any interest in YouTube probably prior to 2 years ago. I knew it existed, and I knew it existed mainly for cat videos, you know, like I never got on it. I was on the fringe. I never really cared. But then a friend was like, oh, you need to see this video, and he showed me like a random JonTron video, and I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. And then he was like, oh, you need to watch this then. So then he showed me Game Grumps, and then I saw Markiplier. And at that point, I just started getting more and more interested. And then my friend showed me a Hidden Block video about how to start your own Let's Play channel. And of course, it's like satire and it's funny. But that's what led me to the Hidden Block forums. At this point, I was watching the Achievement Hunter guys regularly. Every Game Grumps video that was coming out. You know, Markiplier every once in a while when he released a random video. Minecraft stuff like that. So when I came across the Hidden Block forums, and there was a lot of people there being like, hey, you know, this is how I'm making my videos, you know, if you need help, you know, let me know. So it was pretty cool that there was this community within a community type of thing, where it's like, yeah, it was the Hidden Block people, you know, the actual creators within Hidden Block, but then there were the fans that were trying to start themselves and actually interacting with other people. And that's where I started finding all these smaller YouTube channels, Long Arms, and Happy Mask Gamer, and Connor Klang, and Slam Network Gaming. All these like smaller channels that, you know, some of them had a couple hundred subscribers, some of them had, you know, close to 1,000, but they were nothing like the big guys. But they were putting out, in my opinion, just as great of content as the big guys were, on probably 1/100th of the budget. And that's when I was like, you know what? Why not? Why not try and make an attempt to do this? You know, why not? What's the worst that's going to happen? I'm not going to succeed? I'm not gonna become YouTube internet famous. That's not a big deal. At least I tried and I did something new and put myself out there, and I saw something I enjoyed and put myself into it. So I sold off some of my other hobby stuff that I wasn't doing as much, and bought myself a computer and got myself my Elgato Capture and started recording my random videos, and garbage. It was just literally at the start garbage. Everything that I put out, terrible audio, terrible recording quality. I didn't know what I was doing. I was going out and trying. I was making stuff on Windows Movie Maker, and I was recording with Audacity, but I wasn't editing my audio, so it just was terrible sounding, and I could never sync it properly. So, from that point I started, going out when I thought I was getting better. I got Adobe Premiere, and I started getting assistance and help, and that's when I got onto the Let's Play Critique Reddit forum. And I would go out there and probably once every couple of weeks put up a new video, be like, hey, how's this? They'd be like, oh, this is better than that one, but this needs work or that needs work. And of course a lot of that's also personal opinion. I could say a joke right now and be like, why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side, and 7 people might laugh and 3 people might be like, that's not a funny joke. So, I have to take everything they say with a grain of salt. But that's where I started meeting other people that started posting there. And I was able to take what I had learned and share it with them. So I've met other cool channels and people like Cappy from Master Thief Games, who I've said in a tweet to him, he's basically my internet best friend. So, it's cool that just from making random YouTube videos, I've been able to make new friends. And I know some people out there might be like, yeah, but they're people on the internet. They're not your friends. They're not people you know. They're people I know and interact with just as much, if not more, than some of my in real life friends, if you want to put it that way. Over Twitter and Facebook. I don't really talk to a lot of people other than outside of Twitter and Facebook, really. I'm trying to list things. Maybe commenting on YouTube. But no, YouTube has actually been a lot of fun, and it's given me an outlet for creativity. So, it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed what value it's added to my life. 8th fact. I'm addicted to my phone. I really don't have a lot to go into on this one. I just know it's a kind of abstract, true fact. My phone is almost always on me, and I'm almost always on my phone, which gets me yelled at a lot from my dear loving wife. I don't know why I have such attachment to my phone, probably because I have the YouTube Studio app and 3 Twitter accounts and Facebook and Instagram and TimeHop and Snapchat. Okay, there's a lot of crap on there that I check frequently. And I know I have a problem. I know I'm addicted to my phone. This isn't like a super serious one, but there are people that have that problem where they kind of isolate themselves with their phone. And I don't want to become one of those people. I do try to not touch my phone. Like if it's dinner time, I try to put my phone away, not have my phone near me. I don't touch my phone while I drive. That's something that I need. You guys don't have to worry about. I'm not going to wreck my car because I'm playing with my phone. If I get texts or anything while I'm driving, I just, phone's down there. No touchy. No touchy. Especially nice in my wife's car because there's Bluetooth and I don't even have to touch my phone at all. I can answer the phone then, talk through the speakers, or fast forward the music or whatever. But I know that it's very easy to get sucked into the phone or the tablet or the computer, that you get pulled into the social media overload, and I know I am a victim of that. Fact number 9, and this is the downer one. I suffer from depression. I'm including this in here not so much because I want to be the millionth YouTube person that goes, oh yeah, I make YouTube videos and this, that, but I'm actually, deeply suffering from social anxiety and depression. It's almost a stigma with YouTube creators at this point that it's a little over the top. So I hate being the person that goes like, well, I suffer from depression, but I do. It's something that I didn't really know I dealt with for a long time. It probably started when I was little, probably somewhere around 13 years old. Um, my family, we had bought a house, and a year later, my dad went from being the president of a company to having no job. And that's when we started all the moving. Moved to outside Philadelphia with some family. My dad really couldn't get a job there, so we moved to the Pittsburgh area where we had family, and we lived off, you know, welfare while my dad tried to do the best job he could. And I don't harbor resentment towards my parents. They did everything they could to provide for us. So I'm not sitting here being like I'm sad because of, but I think a lot of that, I'm self-diagnosing, but I think a lot of that kind of attributed to my emotional state. I was in my formative years of when you start to develop into who you want to be, and I had constant changes going on and constant moving. So I never, maybe at some level I just never really emotionally stabilized. And the older I got, the more, just kind of I wanted to be alone. I didn't want to go out and do stuff. I didn't want to do anything. It was hard to get up in the morning to go to work. It was hard to get up and want to do anything. Basically, I just wanted, if I got up, I kind of just wanted to either play on the computer or play on the PlayStation. It was just kind of a way to ignore whatever was going on in the world. I know some people who suffer from depression have it even worse than that, where literally they don't want to get out of bed. They can't handle anything. And I have days like that sometimes. They're hard. They're very, very rare, but they're hard. And then I started getting in shape, and I started working out, and I started like, yeah, hey, you know what? This isn't so bad. But at the back of my mind, I still had the constant, well, you're never going to be in shape enough. You're never going to be healthy enough. You're not going to be happy enough, even with this. So I always had that nagging voice that no matter what I did, I was going to be miserable. And I think that permeates kind of into some of my natural tone, where nothing really satisfies, or if somebody likes something, I get mad because I can't get the same enjoyment that they do out of something. A perfect example of this is my wife went to this book signing for Sherilyn Kenyon, and the whole time we were there, I was off to the side because I didn't really care about meeting this person. I didn't even know. But I was off to the side reading comic books and stuff, and I just was getting mad that, she could have this kind of joy and excitement for meeting someone. So when my wife asked a question, I called her phone and interrupted her mid-question, and I felt like crap for doing that now. That was a terrible thing for me to do, but I felt so bad. I wanted somebody else to feel bad too. And it was around a little shortly after this that I started having these, I don't want to call them visions, but just feelings of dread and unease and death. That's the easiest way to put it. I was having incredible feelings of death and the fear of dying. And, I was only 26 years old, and I was having a crippling fear of death. And, while I shouldn't have that crippling fear, according to my religious beliefs, I believe I'm saved, and, when I die, I get to go to heaven. But the back of my mind, it goes, what if that's wrong? What if religions are wrong? What if you have the wrong religion? What if you're not saved enough? So I fear not so much death, I fear the thought of non-existence. And I know for some people that constant dread can actually lead them to thoughts of, suicide and self-harm. I'm the fear of dying and the overwhelming dread of it, which at times could keep me up all night and not even get to sleep, or I would just be in and out of sleep because my dreams would take me into the same thoughts that, I would fall asleep with the thought in my mind and then dream about it. But the thought of dying was so overwhelming. And I know when people have depression that they just want that to go away and they kill themselves. Well, I couldn't do that because, I'm afraid of dying, so I can't die to get away from my fear of dying. And it was at that point that I finally had a realization that maybe something was wrong. And that's when I went to a doctor and kind of went in there, and they're like, "Oh, well, why are you here today?" I'm like, "Well, I got some knee pain and I got some back pain, and I think I'm suffering from like debilitating depression, and I keep getting headaches." And he was like, "Wait, what was the last one?" I was like, "Oh, the headaches? Yeah, but before that." And I'm like, "Oh, the depression." He goes, "Yeah, let's go ahead and tackle that first." So at that point, it gave me an outlet to talk to somebody, even though it was just my doctor, who was essentially a stranger. And that's when I got on medication, and it was real slow, but the medication helped. It helped take away a lot of those feelings of dread and the uncertainty. It's like, yeah, I still had like my own internal issues that I'm sure I need to go to counseling for, but it helped a lot just with balancing emotionally. Like, I started feeling more. I know that sounds weird, it's hard to explain, but when I would get happy, I would kind of cry. And it's kind of a weird thing to explain because I'd not felt happiness. Like, I felt like the fleeting moments of laughter when watching a comedy or something like that, but not really feeling happy. So whenever I would reach a point of happiness, I would cry, essentially tears of joy. I've read other people have done it, so I don't feel entirely weird about it, but it was a very strange experience. And so I know I'm kind of rambling at this point, but I'm sharing all this because if one person who's watching this who has had any of those feelings or thoughts, whether it's, the thoughts of dread or the I can't get up, I can't do anything, I don't enjoy anything. I'm not saying rush out and you are depressed and you need to get medicated. But if you do have those types of feelings, like, don't be afraid to reach out to somebody. Reach out to a parent or a friend. I know a lot of times a friend might be like, "Oh, you're just down right now." Or, "Oh, what do you have to be depressed about?" Those are the most common questions. It's not being depressed about something, it's a literal chemical imbalance in your brain. You don't really have control over it. So if you feel that way, just kind of speak up, or next time you go to the doctor, even if it's, like I said, I went in for a physical and I was telling him what was wrong, and that's when I threw in the depression, and that's when he wanted to tackle it. So if you have just an allergist appointment, they're like, "Oh, most doctors, when they talk to you, they'll be like, 'So other than your allergies, how's everything going?' If you go, 'Well, I feel like I'm suffering from depression,' usually they'll tell you to, go to your primary doctor and let them know. Or sometimes doctors network and they'll tell you to go to a counselor or something. So there's people you can talk to without even necessarily having to, talk to a friend or something like that. But I just want you to know that you're not alone. Those feelings suck. I felt them. They're terrible. But if you go out and get the help you need, it's there. I promise it's there. It might take time to find it. You might have to take a couple of medications. You may not need medications. You may just need counseling to work something out. Who knows? But if you ever have those types of feelings, just get help. It's there for you to get help. And to not end the video on a kind of downer note, that's why I saved, that one for number 9. Number 10. My favorite band, if I had to guess, is the Aquabats. It's actually why I'm wearing this shirt. see, the Aquabats. Aquabats versus Real Big Fish. It was a concert a friend and I went to, and that's kind of when it cemented, I think, that the Aquabats are my favorite band. If you've never heard of the Aquabats, I don't necessarily blame you. They're not exactly super duper mainstream. If you have the Hub network, they have the Aquabat Super Show that's on there. They kind of, I'm not really sure how they worked that out. Again, not being really mainstream, but they kind of made a children's action adventure show about a superhero rock band. And that's essentially what they are. They're a superhero rock band. And they're basically a punk ska band. I think that's the easiest way to describe it, the type of music. I remember when I was younger and swing and ska were kind of populating the airwaves for a while, so I kind of got into the whole thing then, but I didn't really know the bands, and it wasn't until I made a friend at work who actually was into the same type of music and started showing me more punk and ska that, you know, he had been listening to. But I'll get to that later. The first time I actually heard the Aquabats was when I worked at a Border store. And after we closed the doors for the night, they would let us play whatever music we wanted while we did like final cleanup and everything. And this one guy put in the Aquabats, which, again, I had never heard in my life. And they started just singing these really random songs, like The Cat with Two Heads, a song about a mutated cat that was eating people, or Captain Hampton and the Midget Pirates, a song about him trying to find these pirates that are pillaging, you know, the ocean, and they were midgets. And I had never heard the song, and I fell in love with it, and we sold the album there, so I picked it up, and I was like, this is fantastic. So, like, the next album I found from them was Charge, and it was kind of a departure, and that's when I kind of wasn't really 100% sure I liked them, because I was like, this is kind of a weird thing. Like, I like ska, but this album's like a pop synth punk album. Like, it's kind of weird. And then I started finding their older stuff, and I was like, okay, so they're just kind of changing how they sound. It's cool. And that's when I met my friend at work, and I said a random Aquabats lyric, and then he finished it, and I was like, oh my god, another human being who knows the Aquabats. Like, this is fantastic. This does not happen to me ever. And the Aquabats were going to play a show with Real Big Fish, and we went to it. And it was Cuckoo Kangaroo, which is another small band which is kind of making their way now. It's just these two guys who sing basically children's song, but if you go to the concert and see them, like, there's no way you can't like them. It was Cuckoo Kangaroo. Suburban Legends, which is a group, I believe, who actually started as a like ska cover band of Disney songs at Disney World. I want to say it was Disney World or Disneyland. I want to say Disneyland. I'm sorry. And then the Aquabats, and then Real Big Fish. And that concert just was amazing. You know, seeing all these people who love the same music I did, have the same passion for the songs. It was great. And, you know, and I got to see Cuckoo Kangaroo and Aquabats again later. And now, you know, when I can, I try and be like, hey, have you heard of this band? Or ever heard this song? And, you know, I got my wife. She kind of likes them now. Every once in a while we'll drive. She'll put on Pandora's Aquabat station. So we'll hear, you know, most of it's pop punk, of course, but, you know, the song comes on and she goes, oh, yeah, this is that song, or oh, that's that song. So she's able to actually identify when the Aquabats come on now. And I just love their over-the-top silliness in their songs. Like, it's just, their music is very, very good, and they have songs about being excited about popping wheelies, hugging your friends, luck dragons from the never-ending story, food fights on the moon. You know, this is the kind of stuff that you kind of get into when you listen to the Aquabats. So if you haven't, I highly suggest at least going to, you know, Slacker or Pandora, or once you're done with this video, just type the Aquabats Pool Party or Aquabats Pizza Day, you know, stuff like that. Good songs to listen to. They're fun. They're a fun band to listen to. So those were the 10 most interesting facts I could think of for a person behind the games. And at this point, I'm supposed to challenge some people, but the challenge thing is kind of passed well from the point I was actually challenged. And to be honest, I don't really know 3 people that I want to tag and put through this as well. Thanks, Cappy. But I was challenged. I will try and take up a challenge when I can. And I hope some of you people at least found this interesting and stuck through the whole thing to hear me ramble about myself, because I'm not a big fan of rambling about myself. But I did anyways today. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Maybe we've bonded a little bit now. So, until next video, this is Adam, signing off.